three session principle is one of the most important concepts that I have learned through 1.5 years of monk mode or through years of trial and error for better studying techniques. Right? I am Prateek and I got a 97% in my 10th board exams without any coaching, tuition or reference books. I went from an average student to the top of my entire grade and I'll tell you how to do the same. So, first of all, I want to tell you that this three session principle, if you can follow that, then this alone will take your grade from 70% to a 90 or 95%. Because this principle is so powerful that this can literally change your life. And that's why I am making a separate video on this. Because I have talked about this principle in my previous video and that video was in detail. So I'll be clipping that part of the video and putting it here. The reason is that people usually do not watch a video till the end, but I really want that people watch this video, like watch this concept or learn this concept, because this alone will improve your grades, right? So here is the three session principle. This concept basically says that you gotta learn something 3 times. You gotta read it 3 times in detail so that you can understand it fully. Like 3 times is not a maximum but a minimum. Let's say your exam is in 2 or 3 months. So before the time of your exam, you gotta read the concept or the chapter 3 times at least so that you can understand it in detail. Now, you might ask, why exactly 3? Why not 2? Why not 4? Now, I'll break it down specifically. So, the first session is the session. First of all, we gotta describe the word session. Session here means reading the chapter in as much detail as you can. Like, not going to any YouTube video and just watching that, or not going to any courses or whatever and just watching about that content, but rather reading from the book that is given by your school, right? Reading the book and in as much detail as possible and trying to learn as much information as possible. Okay, and one thing that is important in this is forming doubts. Like, just make questions out of anything. If there is a statement, he was going, okay, nothing else is written, just ask, where is he going, what is he doing, whatever. Just ask as many statements as you can or as many questions as you can so that you can benefit. Like, I'll tell you exactly what it will do, but currently just remember that the word session means reading something in as much detail as you can, trying to learn it as much as you can and forming doubts based on that. Alright? Now, in the first session or in the first time reading the chapter, what you're doing is you're forming the basis of the information. You understand my point? Like, let's say you have a chapter which is about French Revolution. Alright? Now, currently you know nothing about French Revolution at all. You just know it is a revolution which happened in France. Alright? You don't know when it happened, why it happened, how it happened. You just know a revolution in France. Now, your brain or your mind will form patterns or will understand the concept or will at least know what is there in the chapter when you read it for the first time, right? Like, when you read it, you'll realize that okay, it was because of inequalities, it was because of this king Louis XVI, or later on they went to this Bastille and just stormed it and everything, or then Robespierre came, Napoleon came, whatever. You're getting my point? In the first session, you will at least know what the topic is. Let's say you have acid, bases and salts. Now, currently, you only know that there's something called acid, then bases, then salts. Now, when you read it for the first time, you'll realize that okay, acid is this, base is this, when we mix these, salts come up. That's what you gotta understand is the first session about. The first session is not about learning everything in detail, but it is just about knowing the basics, at least understanding what the concept is about, what the topic is about. For understanding the importance of the first session, I'll give you an example or an analogy. Alright? Now, let's say I am there with you in a park or whatever, and we are just standing together. Now I say to you that you have to climb a mountain. You don't know how tall it is or what is its height, how rough climate or whatever, you don't know anything. I just say you have to climb a mountain and you instantly have to climb it. You cannot say no or whatever, you have to climb it, right? This is the first case. In the second case, I and you, we are standing in front of a mountain and you know exactly how tall it is, Then I give you a rough map about it and say that though this map is not perfect, it is it is the basis of this whole mountain. Like it will tell you from where the path is and whatever, though it is not perfect. Which is better? The first case where you know nothing at all, if it is tall, short, if it is little, if it is like taller than Mount Everest, if it is like kind of big, whatever, you don't know anything. In the second case, you have a rough idea, a rough map, and you know exactly what you have to do. Of course, the second case is better. And how much is it better? If the first case is a difficulty 10, then this is a difficulty 5, right? Because the difficulty has half, because now you know something about the topic, or you know something about the mountain itself, and that's what the first session is about. Earlier you did not know anything, and you would have to start directly from the exam, or from just before the exam, trying to understand the concept instantly. While in the second case, you already know what the concept is about, then you have to read it again, so you have a rough idea of what the concept is about, right? That's why the first session is very important. Now, in the second session, you actually learn the concept and understand the meanings. The first session was about just like, okay, you know now that there is a chapter and what is there in the chapter. In the second session, you will actually know, or you will actually learn and understand what's there in it in detail. In the second session, what you have to do is you have to just learn the topic in detail, right? You do not have to learn the basis, or you just don't have to just look at it and done, but you have to learn it in detail, exactly what the topic is trying to say, and just learn it. Now you have to like exactly remember what the topic is. That's what the second session is about. Now you'll think that okay, first session is easy, but second session is very difficult. But you'll realize that second session is actually exponentially easier than the first one, because if you already know the topic, if you already know the content, then you'll realize that okay, the learning of this topic is not difficult at all, because I already know what this is about. So I just have to remember from the first time what I had read, and then actually remember it as information. You can either write it so that you remember it, or you can just explain it to someone. Those techniques can work, but it's up to you. In the second session, you are just expected to remember or learn what the topic is about in detail. Now, the few like changes that you'll realize, that I have realized, that's why I can tell you, is that in the second session, the time and the energy and the difficulty, these three things will decrease exponentially from the first time, because now you already know what the chapter is about, but now you gotta understand it and learn it, right? For example, in the first session, the difficulty was at 10, so now the difficulty will be at 2 or 3. In the first session, the time you took was, let's say, 6 hours. Now it will be 4 or 5 hours, or even 3 or 4 hours, because now you would not have to understand it from the basics, but from the like middle. You are already halfway there. Now you just have to learn it. Now you might ask that then what is the point of the third session? The third session is there for organization of ideas. In the second session, you will realize that you will learn, or you will remember the thing which you learned or read at the end the most. You'll remember that the most, and the thing in the starting the least. So the third session is to balance it out so that you remember the whole chapter equally. And that's what the third session is about. The third session will like organize the ideas, because now you understand the chapter in detail, you remember the concepts, but just the thing is that you have to polish those concepts, or you have to polish those ideas. The third session will make it so that you read the chapter again. Now you know exactly what the chapter is and what the concepts are. So now you'll have to just skim through it and just understand it, that okay, this is this is that, and you already know. So you can even like answer the questions that your brain comes up with. If there were some doubts in the first session, then you'll realize that you will be able to answer them yourself in the third session, right? Now, in the third session, after you start reading from the first page till the last page, then the ideas are organized in your mind. Now you exactly know what is there not, and if there were some doubts, then those will be clear. So the first session is just for basic understanding, and you are not expected, or you are not supposed to remember everything from the first session, because you literally cannot. If you are like a person with a photographic memory or something, then maybe you can, but generally you cannot. In the second session, you have to learn everything and understand it, which will be much easier than the first session. In the third session, you have to organize the ideas in your mind and make sure that they are like interlinked and related. That's what the third session is about. Now, the time that it takes for the second and third session will be much less than the first session. For example, the second session will only take around 50% of the time of the first session. The third session will take around 30% of the first session. Let's say you took 10 hours for the first session of a chapter. So the second session will take 5 hours, the third session will most likely take 3 or 4 hours. That's what the thing is, and this is a common thing. Like, first time it will be very difficult and very lengthy, second time it will be easier, then it will be more easier. And if you repeat it over and over again, then it will be more and more easier. Now one question is, should I have any holidays or something? Well, the answer is that in the first session, like in the time period of the first session, when you're doing every chapter or every topic for the first time, then I say you should have one holiday per week in which you absolutely do not do anything. Like if you put yourself to the limits, if you like exert your whole potential, then at the end of the day you still need rest. If you are actually doing like 7 or 8 hour work days, 12-hour work days, then you need rest, and that rest in the first session will be that one holiday. In the second session, you would not need to work so hard, so there is no point in taking a break, right? So there will be no holiday. In the third session again, you would not work so hard, like you will not work hard at all, it will be kind of easy for you, so again no holiday. Now, this rule that I told you, 100%, 50%, 30%, this rule also applies to the compounding effect. For example, let's say for all the subjects or for all the chapters, you took, let's say 15 days or 20 days, okay, 20 days in the first session. You'll take 50% of that for the second session. You'll take 10 days for the second session and then 6 days for the third session, like the 30% of that. Because in the first session, maybe you give 2 days per chapter or 3 days per chapter. In the second session, you give 1 day per chapter. Then in the third session, you will be so capable that you can even do 2 chapters in 1 day. Because now you already know, you already understand, you already learned. So it will be easier for you. That's what the point is, right? So you gotta divide your work or repetitions in 3 parts: first session, second session, third session. These are the organized repetitions that I recommend to you, right? If you do this thing, which is one of the most important things that I can give you in like from my monk mode or from my success, I can give this thing as the most important that I think is, right? Like dopamine detox or not being on Instagram or whatever, those are different things and those are important. But this 3 session rule, if you follow it thoroughly and if you read each time, like in each session, you read the chapter like you're reading for the first time and you read it in detail, as much detail as possible, and try to remember as much as possible, then I say that you can get a much higher grade, like from a 70% to a 90%. That much I can guarantee if you can follow this concept. And this is not coming from a person who does not know anything. I got like 93% in my pre-boards, 97% in my boards. In ninth final, I got 88% or 87%. So you can understand that I actually know what I'm talking about. That's why I'm saying this to you, right? Now, if you want more help from me about how to remember the exact concepts or which technique to follow, which technique to not follow, how to not be addicted to this thing, what to do when you're attracted to girls or whatever, then I highly recommend you to join my program. It's a very affordable course right now and it's a pre-sale, so it will be very affordable for you. And if you join it, then I can guarantee that you'll get a much higher score than you currently get. Like the link is in the description. It's a pre-sale, it's very affordable. I'll see you there. You can watch my previous videos for more information, but for the detailed guide, the step-by-step guide, you should join the program. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, work like a dog, live like a lion.